With us we have Rebecca Maxwell with the Better Business Bureau, and she is going to talk today about ethics.
Okay, thank you so much. Good afternoon. Before I get started, I do have some handouts up here if you want to come get one. You don't have to, no big deal, but feel free to come up and get one. We are going to be working in groups in a little while, so I'll kind of split y'all up. If y'all can handle that, that's okay. I know it's a little bit late in the afternoon, and some people are interested in just taking a nap and chilling out. But hopefully we'll have some time for discussion. Like she said, my name is Rebecca Maxwell. I work with Better Business Bureau here in Southeast Texas. Has anyone ever heard of Better Business Bureau or heard of what we do? A couple of people. Okay, have y'all had a funny smile on your face? Have you?
I just thought it was obvious, but it was true. I've just heard it for a long time.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. You think it's obvious that people have heard about it. Has anyone ever come to us for information, website, or anything like that? For those of y'all who do. Okay. Well, to give you a little bit of a background, so you know where we're coming from, Better Business Bureau, what we do here in Southeast Texas, it's in the name. We try to help businesses get better. Essentially, that's what we try to do. Our mission is to be the leader in advancing marketplace trust, and that's why I'm here today talking to you about ethics. We actually have a lot of educational programs, or not a lot, but some significant educational programs that we do all across Southeast Texas, and talking about ethics and trying to help people understand and build good character ethics, because you all are going to be our business leaders for the next generation. So hopefully having this discussion now will get you thinking about what good ethics is, and that way you'll be able to make positive decisions later on. So a little bit more about Better Business Bureau. We do have dispute resolution. Has anyone ever heard of a BBB rating? Okay, a couple people have. So we actually rate businesses similar to here in school. If you get an A+ for a business, good. F, not so good. So we have a rating system. You can go to our website and check out more information about all of that. But what we're here today to talk about is ethics. It's interesting because a lot of people have spent their entire lives talking about ethics. Oh, I know you too. Hi. So it's something that we could spend years talking about, but we're just going to try to cover a little portion of it in basically 45, 50 minutes. Ethics is considered rules of conduct recognized by a particular group or a particular culture. So if I was to ask you here in Southeast Texas, would our ethics, or what we consider to be an ethical choice, would that be the same all over the world? Or to no? Most everybody would agree no? Probably not? Okay. We're going to be talking about ethics, especially with businesses here in Southeast Texas, because we do understand that. What are some words that might come to your mind whenever I say the word ethics, or if we're talking about ethics?
Morals?
Morals, okay. That's great. What else?
Being polite.
Being polite, okay. Treating somebody with respect. Okay, great. What else? Come on, this side of the room has two. We got to get a couple in here.
Right versus wrong.
Right versus wrong, okay. Our ideas of what's right versus what is wrong, okay. Do we all agree on that? What's right or wrong? We don't always agree. So that can be interesting. Anything else? I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay. Those are all great. A couple other things that come up when we're talking about ethics: trust, integrity, honesty, fairness, responsibility, respect's down there. It's interesting because morals comes up a lot. If you actually look at the definition of ethics versus morals, they're very similar, but morals deals with an individual person. Okay? Whereas ethics is describing more of a group. It's external. You can talk about business ethics or the ethics of a company. Okay? Whereas morals is more, it's usually referred to for an individual person. But I usually think that if you're a moral person, you're going to be ethical too, right? Ties them together. All right. I'm going to show y'all a video that I found. I actually found this fairly recently. And it's John Maxwell. How many of you have ever heard of John Maxwell? Books, author, videos? A couple people? Okay. This is a short excerpt of one of his lectures that he gave talking about business ethics specifically.
Today I would like to talk to you on the subject, why ethics is important. Let me ask you a question in the audience today. How many of you think ethics is important? Huh? Okay. Everyone, I think, said that. In fact, if you didn't, I'm not sure why you're in this session. Although maybe you should be in this session, huh? How many of you have ever had someone be unethical towards you? Remember the feeling, what you just sensed and what you began to feel? The reason that we teach ethics in your notes is because there's a gap between the ideal, in other words, the standard we think people should follow, and the real, the standard that people follow. In other words, in our culture, in our society, there's a huge gap between the ideal ethical standard that people kind of feel everybody should abide by, and the real ethical standard, the one in which we do abide by. So I want to define ethics, and I want to talk to you about why it is so important. Ethics is a discipline dealing with good and evil and with moral duty, moral principles and practices. Ethics has an inside and an outside dimension. And the gap, when I talked about the gap between the ideal and the real, the gap is between the principles, the ethical principles that we believe in, and the ethical practices that we engage in. In other words, we have a higher standard in our principles than we do in our practices. Several years ago, Alexander Solzhenitsyn gave a commencement address at Harvard University, and the title of his address was A World Split Apart. He concluded that our world is not split over the views of East versus West, or communism versus capitalism, or socialism versus free market system, but simply over a person's beginning point in determining what was right and determining what is wrong. And in the business community, we have a lot of business giants that are ethical infants. And it's created a tremendous gap, and people are asking themselves, what's happening in our culture? When I wrote the book, There's No Such Thing as Business Ethics, it really had its seed of me writing it out of a conversation I had with Larry Kirschbaum in New York City. We were having dinner together, and he oversees the book division of Time Warner AOL. And he sat down with me and he said, John, with what's happening in the corporate world, he said, I would like you to write a book on business ethics. And I looked at Larry and I said, I can't do it. He said, why can't you do it? I said, Larry, there's no such thing as business ethics. I said, it's just ethics. You either have it or you don't. And if you have ethics, it works in business. If you don't have ethics, it doesn't work in business. And I'll never forget, a big old light kind of came on his face, and he said, John, that'll be the title of the book. There's no such thing as business ethics. And that is the title of the book.
Stop it there. Whenever I found that clip, I loved it, because a lot of people talk about ethics, and then they'll talk about, well, business situations and business ethics. And they have this distinction. But I like what he said. If you have ethics, it either works in business, and if you don't have ethics, it doesn't. Okay, so everything we're going to be talking about today, if you take the same types of principles, you can use it in any area of your life. It's not just about business. Some of the situations we're going to look at, and we're going to have some questions that you all will be able to vote on. It does deal with business situations because this is for the College of Business, so we'll be looking at some business situations. But it is something that you can take in any area of your life, not just business. So, all right. Now, one thing we're going to do, and this is one we're going to kind of group y'all into groups before we get started. We have a video situation we're going to take a look at. It presents an ethical dilemma for a business, and y'all are going to vote on what. This situation we're going to take a look at deals with an auto repair shop. Has anyone ever worked in a mechanic shop, working on vehicles? Anyone in here feel comfortable working on vehicles by chance? 1, 2. Okay. Oh, good. All right. Anybody feel comfortable changing your own oil? Oh, more people. Okay, great. Well, I have a confession to make. I know nothing about vehicles. Okay, I have a vehicle. If I put it in D, it goes forward. If I put it in R, it goes backwards. Blinkers, windshield wipers, all that stuff works, right? But how easy would it be to scam me if I go to a car shop and say something needs to be fixed?
Pretty easy.
Pretty easy, right? Okay. That's what's going to go on here. We'll see what's going on. An employee within the business finds out his manager is scamming a customer, so we'll see how he handles the situation.
Anything else?
Not yet.
Pretty busy, so I'll reach out. How can we help?
Well, my car seems to jump a little while I'm driving. You know, like something's slipping.
Right.
So since I bought my tires here, I thought I'd better have you check it over.
Could be a dangerous situation. Glad you brought it in. Let's get you written up, and then we'll take a look. You got some serious transmission problems. You're probably lucky you didn't get stranded somewhere.
This sounds expensive.
Well, we got some options, so let me go over a range of costs for you. How long are you planning on keeping the car?
I don't know. I was hoping to drive it for 3 or 4 more years.
Okay. Well, a new transmission is going to set you back about $4,000. Yeah, hold on. We can do a reman for $2,500. A rebuilt would be about $1,000, and the used would cost you about $500.
A reman? What's that? I guess I need your advice.
Sorry. Reman is shop talk for remanufactured transmissions. It's actually got a warranty that's better than the new transmissions. And considering how long you're planning on keeping the car, I really can't see you getting it used. You really just be finding somebody else's problems. A reman is very reliable and it'll work fine for years.
It's not exactly how I choose to spend that much money. Are you sure that's the problem?
Well, you're welcome to take it somewhere else for a second opinion, but I would suggest you have it towed. In all honesty, I wouldn't feel right letting you drive it as it is.
I can't see shelling out more for a tow on top of the repairs. Let's just go with the remanufactured transmission.
Hey, I thought the customer wanted a remanufactured transmission. This one looks like a cheaper rebuild.
Yeah, I found a cheaper supplier.
Well, we're gonna have more complaints if the replacements fail.
Look, Dwayne, I'll handle customer satisfaction. You used to install the parts you're given, okay?
You know it's a cheaper rebuild, don't you? You're gonna charge the higher demand price, aren't you?
Dwayne, listen, either the part's new or it's not. Even the law says that. Look, we have to compete against all these other shops. So we have to keep our prices down as much as possible. The profit margin in this business is thin. If we don't make a profit, we go out of business, and then everyone loses their job. Look at Jake, Charlie, Mary Ann. You want everyone here to be out of a job?
Well, no, but I don't think it's right.
Dwayne, buddy, we have to act as a team here. You go back to doing your job, and we'll all have jobs, okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, in your groups, what y'all are going to do, someone needs to have a piece of paper so y'all can take notes. I want y'all to list at least 3 different people or groups of people that's going to affect, this decision will affect, and then you get to decide what you think you would actually do in the situation. I know it says what would Dwayne do, but what would you want to do in the situation, okay? He could do nothing, go back to doing his work. He talked to his supervisor, okay? He went and addressed it with them. The supervisor tells him to go back and do his job, okay? He could report Al to Tony. Tony is the shop manager, so going up the chain of command. Or he could just call the authorities, okay? So within your groups, decide what you want to do overall. It's most important. Decide 3 different people or groups of people that's going to affect. And I want you to list some pros and cons of whatever the decision you make, whatever that is, okay? Sound good? Can y'all handle that? First of all, let's vote who, just the a spokesperson, I only want one person from each group to raise your hand. So raise your hand if you want A. Do nothing, go back to work. B. 1, 2, 3. Is that everybody? That's everybody. One person from each group. One person from each group. Okay? All right, whoever the spokesperson. All right, so everybody wanted B. Nobody wanted C or A. Okay. Tell me about why y'all wanted B.
It just seems like the next step you should do in the process because I don't know if it's a large corporation we're dealing with or a small business, but if it was a large corporation, you could even go to like HR.
Okay.
But if it's a small one, then probably is no HR.
Okay. So it kind of depends on maybe the size of the company,
As
situation,
far as who
but
you go to next,
okay.
yeah. But I think if you try to keep it within the company, try to handle it within the company itself and not deal with external forces, there will be a lot less downtime for the
okay.
business. And if it can get handled properly, then
Okay. So if you can handle it within the side of the company, get it fixed, you're
you
good.
get it fixed. But
Right. Calling in police or whoever that needs to be, the authority figure needs to be, could take up time, maybe shut down the company for a little while even. Okay. Anybody else from over here? Any other thoughts?
Are we just speaking on the terms? Okay. Are we giving pros and cons right now?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, we, of course, everybody chose B. Our pros is that the manager and the business can be aware of the scamming that's going on. And the cons is basically that it could result in like a bad business relationship if the reporting like backfires.
Okay.
And that's like personal experience because that happened to me like a customer. So
Okay. So you try to go to supervisor, and if they
yeah,
Don't like
it's
it,
always
don't
a way somebody could eventually cover themselves up to make themselves look good. So.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. The reason I was a little bit shocked is because usually we have a split. Most of the time, people don't want to just do nothing, go back to work. Most of the time, people do want to say something, but usually it's split between going to Tony, going up the chain of command, okay, and just going straight to the authorities. Now, I'll come right back to you if you don't mind. You said scam, right? You used the word scam. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, do you consider calling authorities calling or letting a customer know? Because that choice isn't up there.
No, the choice, and that comes up sometimes. Well, I'd go straight to that customer and let them know what's going on. Okay? That's not the authorities. The authorities is calling the police or something like that. Okay? But yeah, that comes up sometimes. A lot of people want to combine answers. I'm going to go tell the customer what's going on, then I'm going to go talk to Tony, the shop manager, all that sort of thing. But we only get to work from what we have here. Now, you said scam, and then someone mentioned illegal activities earlier. Is what's going on illegal?
Yeah,
Business wise, yeah.
It is. It is illegal. So do you have the right to call the authorities?
yes.
Yes. Okay. I would totally agree with you. I would tend to go to my supervisor if I have a good working relationship with my manager or whoever's above my manager. I would tend personally, this is just me personally, I would tend to go to them first. What is another con or something that is a risk we take if we go to Tony? And y'all set it up there. Some of y'all, you guys.
Tony might be in on it.
Tony might be in on it. All right, who said that? Great.
That or you can be labeled a whistleblower or other.
Whole list of things could happen. We don't know. We'll see in just a second what happens if we report Al to Tony. Now, nobody chose to go back to work. I want to give you a situation and see if it might change your answer. You don't have to say, yes or no or whatever. Imagine you were a brand new employee. You were in Dwayne's position, okay, frontline employee, actually doing the work in the vehicles, or if you're in an office job, just doing whatever tasks they assign you, okay? First month on the job, and it appears this might be a business practice that they condone, okay? Would that change your opinion?
I'd probably call the authorities and just quit.
Call the authorities and just quit. I've had that too. I'm not going to even mess with all this. I'm just going to go find another job. I'm not going to say anything because I don't know what's going on, all that sort of thing. It sometimes, depending on what situation we're put in, how long we've been in a business, that might make us change our opinion of what we would do. Okay? That doesn't necessarily change what is the right thing to do. In that video we saw with John Maxwell, I like that he talks about the gap, right? A lot of people, whenever you're talking about ethics, people know what the right thing to do is. They know, okay, this is something illegal, this is a scam that's going on, we're cheating our customers. They think we're getting a remanufactured part, but actually we're putting in something really cheap. All right, that's illegal. But what are we going to do about it? There is a gap between that nowadays, and it's sad, but that's what happens. So let's see if Tony's in on it or not. Oh no. That means I talked too long.
Dwayne, something on your mind?
Yeah. Well,
Dwayne, you've been with us, what, a year now? I hear good things about you. You never complain. Something's bothering you, you just say so.
this is just between us, right? I mean, I like working here. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I think y'all might be doing something goofy with replacement parts. I think he's overcharging customers. A couple times he's giving me transmissions that are used, but then charging customers remanufactured prices.
That's a serious allegation. Have you talked to anybody else about this?
No. I kind of keep to myself.
Wow. Dwayne, I'm glad you came today. Let's keep this conversation between the two of us for now, okay? I'll see what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, I've got to know what y'all are laughing at.
That just seems like
What? A bad acting? Oh, come on. These people got like Oscars for all these performances. Didn't y'all know that? That was announced. No, I know the acting's not that great, but. All right, do y'all have any sneaking suspicions yet?
yeah,
What?
it just seems like he's in on it.
Okay, why do you think he's in on it?
The way he reacted to it, the way he wanted to keep it on hush hush.
This is a computer program we use. I'm going to give you, before we see, well, I'll tell you after we see the ending. But a lot of people pick up on, well, let's just keep this between us. Actually,
Well, right. I understand the internal things about that, but
okay, well, tell
I
me.
don't know. Well, when it comes to, especially with HR, if there's things going on between an employee manager or employee, they want to keep it as close, tight as possible. So just between the parties involved, and that's it.
Exactly, because can Tony, now, what did Tony say positive about Dwayne? I'm going to pick on this side of the room because y'all are still being quiet. What did Tony say that was positive about Dwayne when he came in and said, hey, I need to talk to you about something? Did the right thing? Hey, what else? Been there for a while, right? So he has some kind of reputation built up. Tony knows him. All right, so that's going to be more likely that Tony can trust him, whatever he says. Obviously, he also said, you never complain. All right, so he's not the type of person just to go in and talk about every little thing. So that's good. But can Tony just take everything he says as true? No, right? He doesn't know the situation. So actually, a lot of people get really nervous, and I probably would too, with let's just keep this between us for right now, but that's something that if you're in an HR situation, they would do. You need to keep it between parties involved until they figure out what actually is going on.
Hi, Lucy. Home office doesn't let you visit very often. What's up?
Al, we need to see you in my office. Al, overcharging customers is fraud. We've checked back over the records, and I cannot believe what's been going on.
If you paid a decent wage, a guy wouldn't feel he's got to find a way to make ends meet.
If you've been having problems, why didn't you talk to me? You've put this company in a very risky position, and I have no choice but to turn you in. Get him out of here.
Even with handcuffs.
Tony, you wanted to see me?
Dwayne, yeah, come in. Close the door. I wanted to thank you for pointing out that part swap to me. A lot of people would have just kept their mouths shut, but your ethical decision helped us stop a problem that, frankly, could have put us out of business. Boy, you think you know somebody. Something like this happens. Anyway, I'm going to need a new shop manager, and I want you to think about taking the job. You've proven I can trust you, and that's very important to me.
Cool.
All right, let me tell you what it entails.
So, positive ending, huh? Oh, well, Dwayne, now, would Dwayne just automatically get that kind of promotion? Maybe not, probably not, depending on what his background is, but that could happen. How important is trust when you're in a business relationship? Any relationship, really. Very important? How many of y'all think it's important? Okay. Anybody not think it's important? Okay, thank goodness. Don't joke about that, okay? Thank goodness. Yeah, trust is very important. So I have actually heard of people getting promotions because of situations like this because it does build trust. Now, it might not just be automatically. In your list of people who are affected, who all did y'all list? You can just shout them out. Customer? Okay. Who? Dwayne?
The business.
Businesses? Did anybody else put other employees within the business? Okay, one group, couple groups did. Because even Al said that, you know, we don't want everyone here to lose their job. He was using all these excuses. Well, in this situation, it ended up being positive for everybody else except for Al, obviously. Now, what he was doing was illegal. It's not always as obvious. Sometimes when we have ethical situations that come up, and it's focused especially with dealing with customers, it's not always necessarily an illegal situation. It might be something you can get away with doing and makes a little bit more of a profit, or it might just not be treating your customers in the correct way. So it might not always be that obvious, but you still have to make a decision on what is the right thing to do. Can anyone suggest to me what they might have to do to help repair their business with those customers? Do we know it was just one customer that was affected, or could there be more? Could be more, right? Because we don't know how long this has been going on. Tony did allude to, we've been looking back over the records, and I cannot believe, you know, what you've been doing and everything. So it kind of gives the idea that it could have been going on for a while. Does anyone have any input as far as what could they do to help rebuild that relationship?
Contact those customers and give them the correct parts.
Call the customers, give them correct parts?
Anybody that had service with them directly,
Yeah.
they come in, who was your mechanic, or who was it? Al? Okay, we'll look at it.
Okay.
Give you a free inspection.
Yeah, offer some free inspections, free repairs if they have to do it. Is that going to cost the company more money?
Yes.
Yes, unfortunately it will. But it will be beneficial and it will work out in the long run, or hopefully it should help repair that trust between the customer and the business. So it's actually interesting. What I was going to tell you, and I stopped myself, this is a computer program that we use, so it actually randomizes the endings, so I don't even know what all the endings are, okay, when we make a choice, because half the time, Tony has no clue what's going on, okay, just like what we saw. You would hope as if you're in a position where you're a supervisor or manager one day running your own business, I would hope that you're aware enough of what's going on that if it's been going on for a while, you'll catch it and be able to fix it, but unfortunately, people put their trust in the wrong person sometimes. So here, I would assume Tony and Al have been working together long enough that Tony just completely trusted him, right? That's what I would assume. But so sometimes, half the time, Tony doesn't know what's going on. He takes care of the situation. The other half of the time, the program will actually put out a response that Tony is aware. Tony is aware of what's going on, and he's actually part of it, just like y'all were saying. Well, what if he's in on it? Okay, and it goes into a whole different scenario. So it's not always as easy as what this made it seem like. When in the case of if Tony knew, what could you do then? Call the authorities, right? And that's what you're left up to. Now, we won't take the time. Does anyone want to go back and look at another option, A or C? No one's really gung-ho about it, huh? Okay, we'll move on then. It is interesting though, because who said it depends on, I think it depends on the size of the company and all that sort of thing. I use that example a lot. We actually, one thing that I do is I go into high schools and we'll talk to business classes and also career prep classes. So students who are going to school half a day, working half the day. And what do you think most of their answer is to that? A, B, or C? A lot of them would say, I'm going to do what my supervisor tells me to do. If I have a question or an issue, I'll go talk to them about it. But if that's it, I'm doing my job. All right? Not a lot of people will stand up and actually say something. And it does depend on the size of the business. I always say if it's, it could be a regional business, right? The next person up might be a regional manager or a district manager who you have to wait for them to come into the office, or even if you try to call them or email them, they don't respond right away. So it kind of depends on who's being affected, right? The customer. Okay? How severely? Is it something that you're going to have to address right then and there to protect your customer? Or is it something you can wait long enough to get your district manager to respond back and let them know what's going on? So some things to think about if you're faced with a situation like that. All right. Questions to ask when you come up with an ethical dilemma. We've come up with kind of a formula you can use, some questions you can ask yourself, because sometimes people need some guidance, and we're going to have another scenario in a little bit that we'll discuss again, and I want y'all to use these kind of processes, okay? Number one thing, if you come up to an ethical dilemma, is it even legal, okay? Obviously, if it's illegal, it's probably not a good idea. It's not ethical. Does this action violate any company or professional standards? All right, how many of y'all are currently working? Pretty much everybody. Okay. You probably got an employee handbook or some kind of an orientation whenever you first started. Depending on what do y'all do? Just shout out some.
Collections
Retail?
associate. Sales associate.
Sales associate, okay. Collections, purchasing, okay. What types of industries? Retail, food. What else? Any construction type? No? Oh, one, okay. What do you do?
I do purchasing for a contracting company.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? Okay. So some of those different, especially like with purchasing, it depends on your job. I know for us, Better Business Bureau, if we are going out and wanting to work with a vendor, we cannot accept gifts from that vendor while we're negotiating, where we're getting bids from everybody, right? Okay, because it could show favoritism. It depends on your company. Now, there's nothing illegal about another company giving you a gift or saying, hey, we love you. We want to give you this, nice dinner out or a nice trip or whatever. There's nothing illegal about that. But it could go against something that your company's actually put in place. So check that. And then sometimes companies can't cover every possible scenario. So if you have a situation you're trying to decide if it's an ethical thing to do or not, who is affected and how. Okay, that's why I asked y'all to list who all could be affected by this, positive or negatively, right? Okay, obviously the customer in that other situation is a big one because they think they're paying for something and they're getting something much cheaper. So some things to think about. Now, again, back in your groups, we've got a couple of situations we're going to go over. Jessica likes to be the first to know in her office. Okay? The way she does that is she actually will go through people's offices and look through papers. Okay? Decide in your groups if that's an ethical thing to do. Decide in your groups if that's an ethical thing to do, and we'll talk about it in just a second. And y'all laugh, but wait for it. I've done this other places. Wait till. Okay. And tell me why you think that's an ethical thing to do or not. It's company space.
Well, other people did.
Okay.
You wouldn't want her going into your home doing that, so why would you want her?
Not your home. That
There's no
business.
such thing as business ethics either.
Huh?
There's also
No such thing as, I agree.
So,
No such thing as business ethics.
so if we can trace for that, then
All right. Well, let's just make this a discussion then, since we're going that way. Anybody think that's ethical? No. Nobody thinks that's an ethical thing to do, right? Has anyone experienced this at your off place of business before, by chance? Several people, okay? Yeah, that happens. People laugh when we bring that up, but you will be amazed at some of the arguments we get, okay? It's not your home. This is company property. This is company space. This is not your office. This is our business's office. Okay, so anything you have in here is fair game. Now, someone mentioned we don't know what position Jessica is at. Now, if you're talking about an ethical thing to do, it really doesn't matter. Okay? Now, if it's somebody who is in a supervisor position and they have, suspicions, they're doing an investigation, that's another story. But if you're just talking about daily operations within a business, no, that's not an ethical thing to do. But it's amazing the number of people who have no problem with this, because typically they're the ones who are doing it. Okay? Oh, well, yeah, I mean, that's, it's no big deal. It's not like it's in their house or something. We were working on a project together. So instead of going and asking them a question, I'll just go look through their desk. Okay? That happens. Okay? It's not a good thing to do. One thing that can be a concern is if it is working on a project that's not ready to be announced, or confidential information that other employees aren't supposed to know about, how many of you just get up and go to the restroom or go get some more coffee or go get something to drink without even thinking about what's on your desk, right? We do it on a daily basis because hopefully a lot of us work in a place that we don't have to worry about the situation. But obviously some people have had that sort of thing happen. Now, the next one is a little bit more detailed. Certified public accountant. How many of y'all are accounting majors? Great. Okay. Quite a few of y'all. Do y'all know what the AICPA is? Yet? Okay. American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. I had to look that one up. I'm not an accountant. They have a code for professional conduct that prohibits the disclosure of confidential information without the specific consent of the client. Okay? Mike, this guy named Mike, recently passed the CPA accountant exam. Had lunch with a friend from school, somebody here, okay? Got talking about their job. Mike told his friend about working on an audit for a large local company. He shared information about salaries and bonuses of company officers. Good thing to do or no?
No.
Very, very unethical, okay? There's even, the reason we use this example is because you're even talking about professional codes of conduct or pay standards, like we were saying, if it's illegal, which here, I'm not exactly sure because I'm not an accountant, I would assume that's probably illegal too, but even further than that, you're talking about professional standards that you're then violating. The sad part out is, how easy would this be to do? Very easy, right? Okay, some of us get caught up in conversations with friends. Oh, you would not believe how much Lamar University pays so-and-so. Okay? Or even if you don't mention somebody by name, okay, the company officers, even if you took that out, you just said we're talking about the salaries, just the numbers, even if you didn't specify, oh, this is what the CEO makes, this is what the top-level managers make. Even if you didn't mention any positions, if you're talking about salaries, unless it's public information, but if you're just throwing out numbers out there, can you probably guess if they give you a range who the top earners are? You can probably guess, right? We're all business people. We can kind of understand what levels we're talking about. So this is a situation that a lot of people know is not the right thing to do, but actually will not practice it. We get caught up in conversations with friends and we want to tell about our day or whatever, and it's not the right thing to do. I said it a little while ago, I go to high schools all over Southeast Texas. Better Business Bureau serves the whole area of Southeast Texas, all the way up through Jasper, over through Orange, down through the Bolivar Peninsula, and then over as far as Cleveland. So I go all over Southeast Texas to high schools, and it's amazing when you tell people, even if you go talk to your friends or family members about, oh, we talked about ethics today, people just blow up with different stories that they have had, situations they've had at work, something that they had to face, an ethical situation at work, and how somebody else responded. A lot of people have different stories they can tell. And whenever I started telling people what I do, as far as going to high schools, what do you think is a question people wanted to ask about? Especially being here, our office is in Beaumont. No? No idea? BISD?
Which was the question?
Okay. What do you think's a question I get since I go to so many high schools in Southeast Texas? Talking about ethics. Okay. I get asked all the time, oh, have you been to BISD schools? Or, what is the response when you go to schools? Well, I don't tell people what schools I go to or when I've gone to them. Okay. We go to all different schools. So it's interesting because even at that, even though we're not talking about illegal information, I'm not going to share information about a school because it could look bad for their own particular reputation, even though there's nothing wrong with maybe that school, just a particular class. That's kind of interesting. All right. Why is it even important that we talk about ethics? This is something that I like to think of a lot of businesses here as being very ethical businesses, but unfortunately, Better Business Bureau handles complaints from businesses all the time. This is something that people, again, they know what the right thing to do is, but they don't actually practice it. So it does protect you, it protects your business, and it does protect the community. What we're trying to do is actually try to build a positive, ethical marketplace here in Southeast Texas, not just for consumers, but also for the businesses. And it's interesting because we have a lot of situations that could be avoided, and even legal situations that people get entangled with, and they could have just completely avoided it. But ethical decision making, both business and personal life, there's no such thing as business ethics. It's all ethics. It can hopefully help you in your life. But does anyone have any questions about ethical situations? What Better Business Bureau does? Anything we've talked about so far today?
How do businesses come to you and say, "Can you rate me?"
Oh, great question. How do businesses come to us and say, can you rate us? What we do is we have a website, okay, and we have a database that feeds into that website. Any business that is operating here in Southeast Texas that we know of, we have a rating and a record for. Okay, so it's not, a business doesn't just come, they can come to us if we're not on, or if they're not on our website. They can give us their information, either giving us a call, send it in by email. I think there's even a way on the website you can put in fill out the information on the website. A rating, for those of y'all who don't know, rating actually is automatically assigned. We don't, as an office, we don't say, oh, we know this business and they get an A+. What it is, there's 16 different factors that go into a rating that includes how long the business has been operating, how many employees they have, how many locations they have, and then several more things that go into that. But basically, we look at how long a business has been operating, mainly because if the business has only been around for a year, we don't know what they're doing. If a business has been around for 50 years, obviously they're going to have a higher rating because they have shown that they know what they're doing, they've been operating for a long time, and they have a positive, typically business who has been around for 50 years has a positive reputation, right? Also depending on the number of employees or the size, because if you have more locations or more employees who are dealing with customers, then you have a greater chance of there being an issue, right? Unfortunately, you can't just control every ethical decision that everybody in your company makes. So depending on how big it is or how many locations you have, that could affect it too. And then I don't deal with the all the database side of things, so I don't know what everything is. But so any business we know of in Southeast Texas, you can get a rating. Now, there is a difference between a business that is accredited or not. Has anyone ever heard of a BBB accredited business or seen our seal? Oh, I must not have put it up there. I don't have it on this PowerPoint. Yeah, right here. BBB seal for businesses. If a business is accredited, that's an extra step. Okay, we give a rating for any business in Southeast Texas, but an accredited business is someone we've actually gone into and investigated, and not every business can be accredited. You have to be in business for at least a year. There are different situations. You have to show us any, if you require any licensing, you have to show us all of your licensing material depending on your industry, and that's current. So we have to our board of directors and they approve it or not. So that's a different step. But we do that because then a business who isn't, or that is accredited, they can actually use a lot of marketing materials we have. We have some free services that we offer to them. We can do a website for them and some marketing things. We have some events that are open to specifically accredited businesses. So you get some perks if you're accredited, some services that we offer. And so we're only going to give those marketing materials. If a business is accredited, they can use our seal, because that's one of a widely recognized symbol of trust, especially here in the USA. So if the business is using the seal, we want to make sure that that's a business we're willing to stand behind if an issue comes up. So, any other questions? All right, well, we're good to go. Thank you all so much for your attention.